What's going on, guys? So I wanted to hop on today to kind of give you a quick update. For some of you, um, you may or may not know, I'm currently in physical therapy school. I'm about to enter my third year, so I'm super excited about that. For those of you who don't know, I'm a marathon runner. I've run Boston, I've run Chicago, um, and I've just kind of started accomplishing these things within the past few years or so. So if you're somebody who um, has kind of struggled with setting goals and sticking to a plan, um, and wondering why can't I, wondering what's wrong about me that I can't um, set goals, stick to them, achieve things. Stick around in this video. This video is for you because that's exactly who I was 5 or 6 years ago. Somebody without direction, unable to achieve goals, stick to a long-term vision. So that's gonna be my first starting point. So the first thing you got to um, adopt is a long-term vision. So what do I mean by that? When I was in high school, when I was in undergraduate college, I lived for the moment, which can be a good thing, right? You want to live in the moment, but you also want to plan for the future. So this is planning for the future, recognizing that life is the longest thing you're ever going to do. So planning for the next 5 years, planning for the next 10 years. Us as human beings, we're differentiated from other species because we can do this long-term vision, right? We can sacrifice now for a year, for a week. We can kind of we have this ability. So if you're not utilizing this ability, you're not utilizing what it is to be a human being, right? Sacrificing the now, sacrificing the present moment for a future moment to set yourself up better for a better future moment. All right, so that's point number one. Develop that long-term future. What does that look like for you? A lot of us don't want to look at that, or I know I didn't want to look at that because it's scary, because you don't know where you want to be in 5 years. You don't even want to think about where you're going to be in 5 years. You just want to stay a kid forever. And I'll tell you right now, it's not a good long-term strategy. It's good in the short term, but you're always going to be you're always going to be blinding yourself. And I didn't realize this in the time, but now that I've kind of I've grown up a little bit and been able to reflect back, I was blinding myself to looking into my future. Not a good long-term strategy. So, let's talk about life and how it's a single player game, right? So it's just you. So, you're going to have to figure it out for yourself. You're going to have to figure out what works for you to advance. So let me tell you what I mean by this. A strategy that I implemented to get into physical therapy school was my mindset of thinking, oh, well, if I can get good at physical therapy, I'll be able to help other people out. I'll be able to help myself out. I'll be able to make money. Finding all of these reasons and developing meaning behind what you're going to commit yourself to is the biggest thing, right? Because people that achieve great things, they have to make it make sense in their head first. Michael Jordan wanting to be the best basketball player. Oh, I can be a legend. I can just focus on this craft. I can have fun doing it. I can do what I love for a living, and I can be the greatest player of all time. He developed that meaning, which drove him to practice. You got to develop a meaning. So whether you want to inspire others, maybe a big piece of it. I mean, that's a big piece of it for me too. If you want to be a role model, maybe you're thinking about your kids someday. You want to be a role model for your kids, right? Who are they going to look up to? Once you develop that long-term vision of who you want to be in 5 or 6 years, it's easier to reverse engineer that. Okay, I want to be like that in 5 years. Now I can think about what I need to do today. to develop those habits. And the hardest part, this is gonna be the hardest part. So if you're somebody who like hasn't started, developing a long-term vision, consistent practices, it's gonna be the hardest part to get started. But make it enjoyable, right? Life is a single-player game, right? It's everybody kind of goes through similar ups and downs. We're all human beings. We experience the same kind of physiological mechanisms, emotions. We're all human, right? So you need other people are able to deal with their emotions in a certain way that allows them to achieve success, whatever success means to you, happiness, financial success. They're able to achieve that because they understand how to mentally process things that allows them to continue towards success. Let me try to word that in a different way, because this is vitally important. We all have good and bad days. We've all been through traumas in our life, maybe some worse than others. We've all experienced shame and guilt, negative emotions. And I think it's Andrew Huberman who said, there's two kinds of people in life. People that allow trauma and losses to defeat them, and those people end up being losers, and then the winners use that same kind of trauma and those losses to motivate them and become winners. What's the difference there? What's the only difference there? Is the thought process. Is knowing yourself and how to utilize your emotions for productivity. This is something that isn't talked about when you grow up in school, right? We're not I guess if you take anatomy, you learn about the physiology a little bit, but we're not taught how to deal with our emotions and set goals for our future and find meaning in the things that we do to drive us forward in life. Something you got to figure out for yourself. Whether you figure it out now or you figure it out at 50 or 60 years old, at some point you're going to have to figure it out. So I recommend you kind of start earlier if you can. Like I said, the beginning's the toughest part. Kind of figuring out what's meaningful to you, kind of setting habits early, because the earlier that you set the habits, the more consistent that you are with the habits, the easier they become. The less friction there is when you have to go out on a run or get a workout in. The more you do the specific correct habits, good habits, the harder that process will wire. Neurons that fire together wire together, meaning if you continuously do a habit, it will get easier it'll become more automatic to do that habit. There is also the other side of the coin to that. So if you're doing negative habits, whether it be drinking or partying or whatever you find that's unproductive and negatively affecting your health, you continue to do those habits. The longer you do them, the more permanent or the more wired that connection will become. And they used to think after 25 years old that, scientists used to believe that you're kind of wired the way you're wired. But since then, that's been debunked, and it's tougher because you've ingrained these pathways, but neuroplasticity is still possible throughout the lifespan. So if the meaning is strong enough, you can break those habits. You can develop new pathways through neuroplasticity. We know that exercise, running, lifting weights, eating healthy, these things help to increase neuroplasticity and help you to develop new paths of thinking that can be more beneficial and more productive for you. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there. If you guys have any questions about my physical therapy school experience, I'd love to share with you. Currently, I'm working on my... Well, ask a question if you want to know about it. Maybe I'll do a video on it soon. I got a lot to say about physical therapy school, learning a lot. And then I'm also, doing my running. I have a marathon next weekend in Newport, Rhode Island. So, if you guys have any running questions, any physical therapy questions, I'm your guy. So thank you for tuning in. If you made it this long, I appreciate you. I hope you use this information. Let me explain the dress in the background. It's my fiance's. I think it's for a wedding. It's for a wedding that we have coming up in a few weeks. So just felt I had to explain that. All right, you guys take care.